What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank, and good morning. Um, I had a thought this morning, and so I said, let me go ahead and make this video while I'm thinking about it. That's what I usually do, because I don't write, I don't script, I don't prepare. I literally just talk to the phone, utilizing my thoughts based on the knowledge that I know, that I collected and gathered. I don't do jump cuts, and I don't put a bunch of super attention grabbing graphics to get you to pay attention, because the way I see it is, if the words that I'm saying and things that I'm saying don't keep your attention, then the words that I'm saying ain't good enough, and that's just what it is. I don't want people watching my channel and being falsely kept on my page or watching my videos through tricks and all that stuff, because that's what everybody's doing. They're doing tricks, right? There's a lot of people who can't even talk that sound like they're great speakers because of all the technology that they use for their videos. But anyway, that's not what this is about, right? What this is about is the thought that I had today as I'm watching Undisputed with Dr. Rashid. And they were showing a neo-Nazi rally happening somewhere in white America, right? Where the neo-Nazis were hanging out outside of a synagogue. Of course, they would take this opportunity to protest against Jewish Americans, based on what's happening over there in Israel. And of course, they're all wearing masks. Keep in mind, these are the same people who said that, wearing masks was killing them, and they didn't want to wear masks when they had to wear masks because of COVID. But they can wear masks when they want to hide their faces, because they don't want to get fired, when the camera's all in their face, so. But there was counter protesters, right? And the counter protesters had BLM, Black Lives Matter signs, right? And it got me thinking, and I think this was a video I wanted to do for a while now, is that white people love to borrow black power for their battles. And when they do that, black people sometimes fall for the trick of, oh, look, they're allies, or look, they're on our side, or or look at that. And then we get involved with those groups because we think, okay, well, here is a multicultural group that's finally addressing the issue of discrimination, segregation, and all that stuff with black people. Okay, let's kumbaya together. We finally made it. Let's go ahead and fight the evildoers. Let's unite and fight the evildoers, right? And then later on, we find out that there was an agenda, and that really they didn't have our best interests at hand, right? And they always borrowing our powers for their fight with each other, right? So for another example, the feminist movement. The white woman, right, have been, like, if you look at the history of Europe and how women were treated historically in Europe, white women have basically been slaves. They've really never had too many rights, right? Compared to like all the other, cultures where there were women who had positions of note, prominence, historically, systematically through the system. Europeans really didn't have it that much. I mean, there were times where women reached points of power, right? But that power was very limited, and usually they were killed afterwards, right? They weren't really celebrated. We kind of like know about them because they were sacrificed, they were murdered, they were murderers, or something like that, right? But for the most part, white women have been subjugated by their white males, right? So when America started, right, and all these different European women from all these different European countries got to gather together, and they started to fight against their European man in America, they developed this form of feminine power, right? But the problem is, the white woman doesn't have a natural rebellious they don't have a natural rebellious energy like the African woman, right? Because the African woman, for thousands of years, because black people, we've are advanced in our civilization, right? People think of advancement as building with metal and technology and trim, and you see the grout lines in a building. You think, oh, that's advanced, right? But that's not advanced. We were already doing that, right? But we have been here longer, so we've managed to put together all sorts of combinations of different societies to see what works on the continent of Africa. And in Africa, we've given, as black people, we've allowed women to wield certain levels of power within the community, right? We're not ashamed. Even our African stories, our African spiritual system, our religions show that women always had a good amount of power, right? Through their feminine energy, when it comes to dealing with and communing with the male energy, the male power. We've always had a balance. We've worked on a balance, right? For the most part. There are some degenerate ass cultures in Africa. I mean, let's not say everybody ain't perfect, right? But for the most part, we worked it out, right? So our women have more rebellious, they have more input on society, right? So the white woman, when they saw that black woman, right? Because keep in mind, they pay attention. They saw how resilient the black woman was through all this strife. Because keep in mind, a white woman wasn't that far off from a slave in America back in the day. They weren't that far off they weren't far as rights, even though they had tremendous rights, and the Karens of the North America have been a detriment to the black man and black woman, because they're still women, and women get jealous of other women. So when Massa was taking his pick of any female he wanted, of course, the woman would automatically get jealous, and that would cause a whole bunch of things. But what I'm saying is the white feminist movement, they needed the black woman, because they needed to borrow the power of the black woman to push along their feminist agenda, right? But, as soon as they got what they wanted, or the ball was rolling enough to where they were good because the speed was fast enough, right? Then all of a sudden, the black woman was no longer necessary, right? Or the desires or what the interests of the black woman became secondary to the interests of the white woman. That's why if you look around the world, this Western mentality, this white Western female mentality that we call modern women, is the epidemic that we're dealing with today, because our women are emulating the white woman, because the white woman borrowed the black woman's power and gaslit us to believe that they were united. And come to find out, the white woman has always been jealous of the black woman. They just want to take the black woman's assets. They want to take their lips. They want to take their hair. They want to take their body frame. They want to take their skin. They want to take their youth. They want to take their, black don't crack. They want to take that. They want to take their rebellious energy, and they take it and they borrow it. And after that, they discard it and throw it in the trash, leaving our black women who thought they were part of a bigger organization by themselves and damaged because they went against their own black man, thinking that they were part of a bigger group of, this big feminist movement, right? The same thing happens in other groups like BLM, Black Lives Matter. Now, the phrase Black Lives Matter is a simple phrase. It's saying Black Lives Matter because it seems like Black lives does not actually matter to European Americans, because we're not afforded the same liberties of life as they are. We're not given the benefit of the doubt through law enforcement like they are, right? So the phrase itself, Black Lives Matter, is a true phrase that all black people support, especially when we first heard it. But what happened? White folks, right? They incorporated Black Lives Matter. They made Black Lives Matter a movement for them, using black people in their power to push their own agenda against the other people they don't like, which are the fascist, racist white people. You see, the Black Lives Matter, they are the liberal, progressive group of white people, the globalist white people. Some of them do have good intentions, but their intentions is still based in white superiority. Their intentions is to use black power, right? The idea of black suffering to push along their own white liberal agendas. And we, of course, black people, who we supported it because like, oh, look at those white people actually being allies, supporting us, right? And we go out there with them and we go because, we say power in numbers. But it's power in numbers when, if everybody's on the same accord, but everybody was not on the same accord. That's why we have all these Black Lives Matter organizations, right? They took the name and the power of the meaning of Black Lives Matter, created organizations, and they started stealing from the very same people they say that matters, right? And so there's white people who run Black Lives Matter. There's a few black people. There's a few black people, and if you notice, the black lesbians who are attached to the white lesbian feminist movement, like freaking white on rice, because they don't see outside of their mission, they fall for and do and work for and are subjugated to white power once again, while supposedly advocating for Black Lives Mattering. But at the end of the day, only white lives matter in that movement. That's why when you saw all the riots and stuff, it was all white people. These were white people wearing black shirts. Okay, that's as black as they can get. They wear a black shirt, put BLM on it, and boom, that's it. So Black Lives Matter is a white organization, right? And I watch these, and there are places in America where it's just all white people, right? And they go out and they protest on behalf of black people, right? And they say BLM. That's the shield coat of arms they use to battle against MAGA, right? And before you know it, it ain't got nothing to do with black people. It got to do with them and their agenda against the other white people they don't like, the fascists, and they battle it out with their own political and social issues using black power. Even the racists, right? MAGA and them, they also try to use black power for their agenda. What they did was they said, hey, there's a bunch of men out there, because usually if you look at these cults, right, especially the racist right-wing cults, that usually they are dominated by white male incels who, because they don't have a life anyway, they just pick something that will galvanize them towards another group of men. They want to feel like they belong to something. So they join these racist organizations because they get gaslit. Hey, we're a family, white pride, and then they give them an enemy, somebody they can hate, right? And that's the black people or the other white people that wear the black shirts. Black Lives Matter, right? But even them, they're dealing with situations where they got to deal with the Latinos and Asians. They don't like those people, right? They would love for Asian people and Native Americans and Latinos to disappear. They don't want black people to disappear because they need us. They don't want us to go, but they don't want us to stay. They just want us to stay over there and not over here. But they don't want us to go, because without us, there is no America. All right? Without us, there is no America. Without us, there's no flavor in the seasoning. You understand? Right? Because if you think about America, think about every genre of music and who actually invented that. Think about everything that's cool and attractive about America and who's a part of that. Think about what brings people to America. Think about who the coolest and most iconic actors really are, right? Think about the standard of coolness is black. In the world, the standard of everybody wants to reach black. Everybody wants to reach mastery, which is black, right? Everybody wants to be as cool as they can. They sell toothpaste, they use black music. They sell anything, they use black music. If a white person wants to display how cool he is, he has to have one token black person in his video. That validates him as being cool enough to be around black people. That's what they do. They borrow our power, right? They borrow our power to fight their own agendas. I don't know if y'all can hear this new dog of mine. I got this new dog right here. I'm actually, to be honest, I'm thinking about exploiting this dog on YouTube for money. I'm not sure. Let me know. She's cute enough. Her name is Chanel. My brand new dog. The other dogs are jealous, but they're old. This is a baby. She got the zoomies all the time. Thinking about exploiting her on YouTube, because it seems like if you put your dog on YouTube, especially if you got a cute puppy, you get millions of hits. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Should I exploit this dog on YouTube for money? Anyway, Black Lives Matter, the feminist movement, and on the conservative or racist white side, you have the red pill community, right? So they figure if you got a bunch of incel, can't get women, they have no connection, they have no life because they don't get to do anything, white, fat, middle-aged males and young middle-aged males, they found their equivalent on the black side, which are incel, rejected black males. And they got this little community called the red pill community, right? The manosphere community. They pluck them out of the manosphere community. It's not the great total manosphere community, but this is where they have commonality. And usually, in order to get somebody on your side, you have to find a commonality. You got to find something that will stitch them together that they can say, you know what? Yeah, we agree with that too. And what's stitching them together is that there are women rebelling against them, or that they can't get women. So you have these red pill, I hate women black guys who, unbeknownst to some of them, are sliding over to the Republican conservative right racist side of society. And the thing is, it's really weird because black people, we're supposed to be fully aware who our enemy is. We've always been fully aware of the people that mean to do us harm. But nowadays, despite us being and usually being fully aware of who the direct enemy is, some of the weakest groups of us are falling for it, and they're joining the red pill racist Republican conservative side, right? And because the white people want the black people to help them fight against immigration. The white people want the black people, want to borrow the black people's power to get us on their side to fight against immigration, to fight against those Latinos and Asians coming over, to fight against more black people coming over, unbeknownst to us, right? Because what's something black people always been saying for years? How come we ain't got no backup? The Africans ain't coming over here to back us up, right? Well, now the Africans are here to back us up, right? They are here and they are backing us up, right? And so we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right, as a group. So they need to simultaneously keep us divided as black people, right, by creating a new wedge between West Africans who were brought over here and West Africans who had their people stripped from them, ripped away from them, right? They have to create a new divide because they can't have us united, right, in seeing our commonalities, right? To the point that we have black people who are vehemently against black people in Africa simply because of the historical truth that there were some chiefs and there were some kings who were complicit in selling us into a transatlantic slave trade, a system at which we knew nothing about, a system as which we thought was consistent with all the other slave systems that the rest of the entire world was using. You know, we had no idea that we were selling our people into a system that was not human at all. We didn't know, right? We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, but it happened, right? So they make up and pretend like they were Indians or something like that because they don't want to be associated with that or they hate that. But at the same time, they forget that the Native Americans also lost the battle against the Europeans by having Native Americans go against other Native Americans. Native Americans selling other Native Americans into slavery. Native Americans going on raids with Europeans against other Native American tribes that were their historical enemies. Same way that happens in Africa. But these pretendians don't take that into consideration, that the same way that it was done in West Africa is the same way it was done in North America. The only difference is in North America, it was complete and total domination. In West Africa, in all being honest, it wasn't a complete and total domination, but they got a good chunk. But in North America, they took over the entire Western hemisphere of this planet. They completely succeeded over here because they got native tribes to fight each other, right? Because they used and exploited the differences in their grievances they had with each other to make them fight and go against each other, making them smaller, separated, and weak, right? And they succeeded, right? They need us black people to help them to eliminate, get rid of, and control all the Native Americans who we call Latinos, who they don't know who they are. They think they speak in Spanish. They think that's their language. They speak two white languages and they don't even, and they're proud of this shit, right? They're really way off. They're really way off, right? They got a long way to go. But us, we're like right here, right? That's why we are awakening. And as we awaken, other people start to awake too, right? But white people on the conservative side use black people. We call them coons because that's what they are. They're traitors to their people, right? But sometimes they don't even know they're being traitors to their people. They think because they have a commonality with these people, they found something to galvanize with, right? And to push whatever agenda they're trying to push. Before you know it, they're coons. They're traitors, right? One day they'll realize it. They will realize it, right? But on the liberal side, it's not so much, the liberals don't want to get rid of black people. They just want to use our power. They don't want us to go anywhere. They want to use our power. They don't want us to die. They don't care about calling us the N-word. They want to use our power in a nice way. The conservatives, they want to use our power in the old way. They just want us to work for them. That's it. And shut the fuck up. and that's it. But we black people have to stop pitting ourselves against each other for the agendas of white people. That's why I always say Democrat, Republican, none of that shit, that's not ours. Conservative and liberal, that's not ours. That's white conservatism. That's white liberalism. That's from a white European's perspective. People always say, "Oh, black people are inherently conservative." Every country, every group of people are socially and culturally conservative. That just means to maintain their culture. If you truly are a black person and you're conservative, which you're supposed to be conservative about your culture, your African culture. You're supposed to be trying to conserve your African culture. You're supposed to, and since we lost a lot of our African culture, and we have the ability to get and gain and reattach that African culture to us, we should also do that and attach more of that to us and conserve that. Liberals want to liberate themselves from the constraints of certain, rules and regulations. Liberals want to be liberated to just have no rules, no boundaries, no nothing, right? But that's European liberation to do those things, not African liberation to do those things, not African liberals. Africans, if you look at the greatest freedom fighters ever come out of Africa, they were all liberals. They were progressive liberals. I'm a progressive. Progressive is to progress by any means necessary that benefit the people. That's why I'm a progressive. I'm not liberal, even though there are liberal policies that are very popular and I agree with them. And I'm not a conservative, even though there are conservative policies that I like, that I agree with them, as long as they're retrofitted towards African people, as long as they benefit African people, no matter where those African people are, right? So we as black people, we need to recognize all the organizations that want to use black power for their own agenda. They want to borrow the black power and might, for that, because historically everybody's done that. The Indians used to borrow black power to win their wars. The Arabs used to borrow black power to win their wars. The Romans used to borrow black power to win their wars. The Greeks utilized black power for their intellectual achievements, right? And that spread all over the world. Everybody borrows and takes from Africa. Now, we've given the Greeks this. There was a point of time where us and the Greeks had a harmonious relationship until they got greedy. Then the Romans got greedy. And then everybody else just got greedy because they wanted more and more and more and more. The more we give these people, the more they're going to want. They're never going to not want more. And we've been given and given and given. We fight all their wars. We help win all their wars where they fight each other. And think about it. When white people fight each other, it's considered a world war because they consider themselves the owners of the world. Even though if you look at the circumference, the areas of which all these so-called wars are happening in Europe, Europe is this big. How is having a war on an Asian peninsula we call Europe a world war? If that's the case, then there's a world war happening right now because there's war happening on many different continents. Israel and Palestine, those are Ukrainians, Russians, and Polish and French people fighting Arabs. In Europe, Ukraine, Russians, those are Russians in Europe and Polish and are all fighting each other. Just because you don't have French standing armies don't mean French volunteers didn't go over there. White American volunteers in Ukraine fighting right now. All facets of Europeans are fighting on the private side, on clandestine military group organizations that's not part of the main military groups in these countries. But all these white people are fighting on various different places, right? White Americans are flying back to Israel to go fight Arabs. So it's all the same people fighting. The only difference is in the Middle East, they're fighting Arabs. Well, they're genociding Arabs. That's what they're doing. But they also want to, and they get mad because black people don't want to support their genocide. So that's why you see people on YouTube get mad at black people for not supporting Israel. They're like, hey, we want to borrow your power. We need to use your power, and we're going to use your power to fight again. And why are you not allowing us to use your power? Right? Then you got some, Arabs who are also saying the same thing. Hey, why are you not using your power to support us? Why are you not using your power to support us? And we black people always complain, well, how come none of you guys use any of your powers that you guys have to support us when we're going through anything. But if you look at somebody that's powerful, you never think they need help. Even if when they're being hurt and subjugated, you think this shit don't hurt. People don't think that it hurts us. They don't think that we feel pain. They look at us like we don't feel pain. They look at us even when somebody dies as a culture, like, oh, they be all right. There's billions of them. They have a whole continent, right? They take our pain and our struggle for granted because they look at us as being so overwhelmingly powerful at the end of the day that we don't need their input. We don't need any of the power that they generate as a group of people, right? But when it comes to black people, everybody wants to borrow our powers for their own agendas. We need to take back our power and we need to use it for our own agenda because we spend so much time fighting for everybody else. You know, we spend so much time using our energies for every institution, using our energies for every government, using our energies to build everybody's empire, right? But we don't use that same energy to go to Africa or to go within our own communities around the world that we establish and put that same power within our communities to hold our people accountable, right? To hold our politicians that control our areas where we live accountable, right? To control our education, to control our where we live and how and the quality of life, to control our corrupt politicians, because all politicians are corrupt. It's just what scale of corruption and does their corruption hinder governance? Like in America, the whole government's corrupt, but for the most part, usually they're able to govern. In Africa, all of them are corrupt, but sometimes their corruption hinders them from governing. And because of that, the people suffer even more disproportionately than the rest of the world. Because, like I said, corruption is on a scale, right? So I want you guys to think about that. And in the age of information, we all just need to really focus on ourselves and focus on the things that will make us. We know what we got to do. We say it all the time, right? We complain and complain and complain and complain and complain and complain and complain. And then we always talk about these are the solutions, these are the solutions, these are the solutions, these are the solutions, these are the solutions. But the problem is we're waiting for a Jesus to come and do it for us. We're waiting for a Nelson Mandela to come and do it for us. We're waiting for another Dr. Martin Luther King to come and sacrifice himself for us. We're waiting for another Malcolm X to come and start the next revolution and form us up into a formation and march down the road. We're waiting for an individual to stand out and do it for us. We thought Barack Obama was going to do it for us, but you forgot that Barack Obama was the president of the United States of America, not the president of African Americans. And he was put in charge to control America, which are the affairs of white people. Now, if we want to control America, we would have to overwhelm this political system with our people. And then we can control and we have the keys to America. And then we will own the most powerful nation on the planet, the one we created and financed, right? The one we created and financed, right? We will own all of it and we can do it. And we should do it. That should be our agenda, to take over America politically, right? And show everybody what good governance is, right? Matter of fact, everybody would probably be happy. They'd be better for it if we were in charge, if responsible members of the African community was in charge, and we had responsible government, and we implemented some of those conservative, liberal, and progressive African policies that made African people so successful for 99.99% of human existence. Why not? Instead of waiting for a group of people who've historically showed us that the only thing they're interested in is rape, murder, and pillage and war. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.